The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons. On today's show, we'll be talking about Toastmasters. There's a Toastmasters group near you, maybe a lot of them in the bigger cities. We're going to talk about how Toastmasters really helps an individual improve their communication, whether they're talking to one person or many or someone on the camera. It's a very intelligent, well-planned out program to help you become a better speaker, and I guarantee it'll change your life. Stay tuned.
If you knew your next-door neighbors couldn't afford to stay warm this winter, you'd want to help, right? Thousands of our fellow Montanans and Montana businesses are stepping up with a tax-deductible donation to Energy Share Montana, a nonprofit that helps more than 3,000 of your Montana neighbors stay warm this winter. Find out how you can help. Call 888-779-7589 or go to EnergyShareMT.com. Thanks, Montana!
It's been 27 years. I never thought I'd still be smoking, but here I am, COPD and all. I'm about to have a granddaughter. There's so much to show her, but I'm scared I won't be able to keep up like I used to. I kind of gave up on myself on quitting, but it's different now. I want to be here for her and for my daughter.
Hey caregivers, did you know that respite time is your time? How will you spend it?
How about some good old-fashioned me time for starters?
Michelle Smith, Helena.
Or maybe play a high-stakes game of volleyball with my other kiddo. Gotta teach him who's boss, you know. I could even make my famous spinach lasagna. Never hear any complaints about that.
Montana Lifespan Respite. Respite for caregivers. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. It's okay to get it.
Hey Mom, more lasagna please?
Sometimes the difference between having the life-saving medications you need and going without is the premium on your Medicare drug insurance. If you're a Montana resident enrolled in the Medicare prescription drug program, you may be eligible to receive help with your premiums, even if you own your home or other assets or think you may have too much income. Call or visit the Big Sky RX website today to find out if you qualify.
There you go, ma'am. See you next month.
Thank you.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and we're brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services Senior and Long-Term Care Division. We're talking about Toastmasters. It is statewide, actually it's international, and we have individuals here who have competed at all those levels, and they all started out the same way that everybody else does. From the Helena Toastmasters group, on my right I have Wayne O'Brien, and on my left I have Dan Burdick. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here. Good to be here.
Now you're both long-term Toastmasters, and Wayne, can you tell us how long you've been in Toastmasters, and what was the opportunity that you started it?
39 glorious years, and I was actively involved with college debate, and so when I got out of college and I moved back to Helena, I recognized that it was a great opportunity to keep my skill level there. Yes. Doug Lowney and Ad Carlson, two longtime folks who aren't with us anymore, said, hey, you'd make a great Toastmaster, and the rest has been a wonderful weekly adventure.
And you've been with the same club all that time?
All the same club, different locations, but same club.
And what time do we meet?
We meet every Monday morning at 6:50 to 7:50, a tight hour, at Life Covenant Church, 800 North Holback in town.
And when we talk about Toastmasters, they meet all times, different times of the day, right? So our viewers, you don't want to get up early. They can have other
Correct,
meetings.
yes. They can go online and take a look at other clubs that meet in Helena that might fit their time schedule better.
Or their local town. I know they have early morning, they have lunchtime, and they have evening meetings. So they have a meeting that'll meet your individual needs.
Correct.
And Dan, how did you start in Toastmasters?
I started back in 1983. My first cousin and a good friend from church said, if you're going to be in business, you better learn how to open your mouth and talk. And I took them up, and I've been around Toastmasters in one form or another ever since.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah. And have you been with the same club also?
Yes, City of Gold. Wayne explained the times of where we meet. Same.
Great.
Still enjoy showing up at 10 minutes to 7 on Monday morning.
Well, I joined Toastmasters. I've been in about 17 years now. I had 2 breaks. I started because of this show. I wanted to be able to be more comfortable speaking, and now after 33 years on television, it has really helped me a lot. But Wayne, let's start at the beginning. A person is thinking about Toastmasters. He can check out a website for his local town, but he goes to a club and he doesn't know anybody. He just kind of shows up. What does that individual go through? Will they be welcomed into that club?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reservations. I always invite somebody to come and just see how we roll for an hour. No one imposes any kind of restriction or request on you. You just get a chance to see if you fit. The meeting is tight, so if you're involved in doing meetings anywhere with your job, you'll get to see how much information we cover in a very tight hour. That in and of itself will help anybody who's working with an agenda in any kind of format.
Yeah, and if you're sponsoring a meeting too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And Dan, what does when the individual first comes to a meeting, what does he see? I guess what is the format of a club that they will first experience?
Well, I always tell someone, if you're going to come, promise me to come twice. Yeah. Okay, because the first one could be a little dazzling, let's put it that way, because we have a set schedule. There's usually 2 prepared speeches, and after that we go into a topic session, which I like to call a conversation. Someone will lead it, and you'll have 2.5 minutes to respond to their question. And then, not only do you learn to speak in Toastmasters, you learn to listen, because we have an evaluation session after that where the 2 speakers are evaluated. Each topic speaker is given a quick evaluation, and it gives you a chance to practice listening to the point that you want to tell the person that just spoke something positive and something they can do to improve.
Yes, and we have a Toastmaster, and the Toastmaster makes sure everybody shows up for their assigned duties, and then they run the meeting, which, you know, if you're working somewhere, eventually you might have to run a meeting or do a presentation, and you need to prepare ahead of time. Now, Wayne, we're talking about, let's talk about an icebreaker. What is that, and how important is it?
The icebreaker is the first formal presentation you'd make in our club. It's a 4 to 6 minute speech, which asks you to compress your entire lifetime for the club so they get to know you in 4 to 6 minutes. And we've seen virtually every kind of speech ever made, but it is, for the most part, the most exciting presentation you'll make when you're a Toastmaster.
It is. I mean, you got the butterflies flying. And when I had my icebreaker, a gal was ahead of me, and she got up and said, I can't do it. And she sat down, which frightened me. I mean, there's no reason to be frightened, but she was a very quiet gal, but she went on to be president of the club, president of our area, president of the state, and she just bloomed. And that's one thing we really like to see in Toastmasters is it'll change a person, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Rapid changes. I mean, I know every week, if you're a new Toastmaster, you'll see changes that just happen, that are just great. And all of us are involved in communication. So your communication skill and your leadership skills automatically get better just by being in the club.
Just by getting in the club. And Dan, part of this is that, you know, you got a lot of guidance. I like to say you have a skeleton that you build your speech on, right? And your first speech is pretty easy to do.
There's that for sure, but the main thing is it's a very safe place to mess things up.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a bad deal. And your Toastmasters will support you, and you can come back a week later and fill another role and keep right on going.
Keep on going. And what I like to tell people anymore is that we're going to make mistakes, you know? I mean, no matter what you're doing, you make a mistake and it's okay. Just don't make it again.
Well, just think of it as a practice session.
As a practice session. And what's important in Toastmasters is that they've all been there before.
Yes.
You're not doing anything unusual. Now, we've drawn to a quick close on the first segment. We'll be talking more about Toastmasters on our next segment and how wonderful it is and how it helps change people and makes them better communicators in all aspects of their lives. So stay tuned.
This is Sergeant Jones. Please respond. I was separated from my squad. Requesting backup. Anyone?
The human heart. Even at its strongest, it's a fragile muscle. Chest and arm pain, shortness of breath, are signs of a heart under attack. But 3 numbers can save a life. Dial 911 at the first sign of a heart attack. Quick response from medical experts can save your life.
I was 45 and it happened to me, a heart attack.
Dialing 911 saved Ryan's life. Now he's here and he's healthy.
This message sponsored by Mission Lifeline Montana.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Can you say ombudsman?
Ombudsman. Ombudsman?
Uma Doodlesman? Fortunately, you don't have to say it right to get the help of a long-term care ombudsman. If you or a loved one reside in assisted living or long-term care, an ombudsman can help resolve any issue. And these services are completely free and confidential. Now, why don't you try that again?
Ombudsman.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and we're continuing a discussion about Toastmasters. They're everywhere in this state, the nation. In fact, they're international, and you can join a group that has studied the science of communication. They've made it simple so that you can start out and work your way up to wherever you want to go. Rejoining us is Wayne O'Brien and Dan Burdick. And Wayne, let's start at the top. There's so many different options you can do in Toastmasters. We discussed the icebreaker. That's your first speech, but where do you go from there? What's the possibilities?
Well, I think over the years, Brian, we've tried to make Toastmasters relevant to the people who come. So if you've got a job and you're working in a certain area, Toastmasters has a program called Pathways, which allows you to take a strength finder test and find where your strengths might be better accessed through a program that you can pick to go through, which is online. Or you can come and simply play it by ear, do speeches when you want to do speeches, do presentations when you want. So generally, we make the club work for the person who's there by asking questions and figuring out what we can do to help them get to where they'd like to be.
Yeah. And you know, I've seen members come in and say, well, I have this presentation to do to such and such a group. I want to practice it here. And they might present it 3 or 4 times, right? Correct. And you're welcome to do that. It's
Correct.
Up to the individual.
Yeah. Right. Great opportunity to practice in advance of doing something, because all of us have been in a situation where we made a presentation and we think we should have practiced it a little bit more. This gives us an opportunity in a friendly, supportive environment to be able to do that and get some feedback that makes doing your formal presentation work better than you imagined it would work.
That's right, better than you imagined. And Dan, you know, you were talking about you got into it so you could be better at your business. How has Toastmasters helped you become better at your business?
Well, it helps you organize your thoughts or the product you're trying to present to your customer to simplify it down to, say, 3 points. This will do this, this, and this for you. And that's kind of the secret of the Toastmaster speech is, we've heard it called the Toastmaster sandwich. You tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and you tell them what you told them.
Yes.
And if you stick to 3 points, you can get a lot said in 5 to 7 minutes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I know well, we're in the same club, and I remember your presentations. I mean, it doesn't really tie into work all the time, but you can do speeches on your interests or something unusual, right?
Yes, this is a whole new era for me in Toastmasters. I'm trying to talk more about, well, my feelings or maybe my life experiences. I got some life experiences now at this age, so might as well share them with the younger folks.
Yeah, the younger folks that are there.
How to pivot in life.
Well, let's talk about table topics. You know, when you go to a Toastmasters meeting, everybody gets an opportunity to speak, right, Dan?
Everybody, yeah.
Can you define what table topics are and what kind of variety? I mean, there's a whole spectrum of table topics that come up.
Well, first you have your topics master.
Yes.
And that's the person that gets up there and presents the questions. And ideally, you present the question to the whole group, and then you say, And tell us about that, Brian. And Brian gets up and comes to the front and answers the question or speaks to that topic, typically for 1 minute to 2.5 minutes, and then you sit down and the next question comes up, and on it goes.
Yeah.
And we have as few as 2 or 3, and sometimes, like this week, I think there was 9 people that spoke.
Yeah.
And it's a very good practice for impromptu speaking.
And I know it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Walking up and reciting the topic, and it's like, how am I going to speak on this? It becomes interesting. But now, Wayne, we're in a Toastmasters group, and we're advancing, and eventually we have some competitions, and an individual might want to go to a competition. What kind of competitions are there every year?
Well, here's the numbers. There's 350,000 Toastmasters internationally, and 10%, about 35,000 people decide that they would compete. They start that at a club level. Then they start it at an area level if they advance and do well, and then they go to a district level, and at that point, if you win a district contest, you have the opportunity to compete for the World Championship of Public Speaking. That ends up being about 100 people. I had the opportunity of advancing that 5 years ago, I guess, going to Kuala Lumpur to compete to be the world champion of public speaking, and I was this close, Brian. I was this close.
Well, you're an accomplished speaker, Wayne, and I imagine you go to international, those people must be amazing.
Frighteningly amazing. There is always somebody better at whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
But inspirational. It's always great to be in a group where you see people grow and you see people who are better than you, and you learn from both.
And what are the 2 different competitions that a club will have during the year?
They'll have a humorist contest typically, and then they'll have a serious, which is the international contest. Not that there's not humor involved in a great international speech or a serious speech. In fact, humor carries a point as well as anything does. So if you're giving a formal 7-minute speech, you want to make things as light as possible so that the folks in the audience are with you.
That's persuasive speaking, I guess we could say. And these are open to the public, aren't they?
Open
when
to
they
the
have
public.
the competitions.
Anybody. If you're out there and you just simply want to come Monday morning to see how we roll, you're invited. You don't have to let anyone know in advance. We'd love to see you 6:50, 7:50 in the morning, Life Covenant Church, every Monday.
Yeah, and of course there's other groups that are every morning or mornings, lunchtime, and dinner. And these humorous speech, you've won the humorous speech a lot of times. You're a very funny guy. It's really entertaining, let me tell you. It's great. Well, now we're drawn to a close on our second segment so quick. We want to keep speaking here. But let's promote Toastmasters a little more. I mean, we hope you can see that we enjoy being here. We're not uncomfortable speaking, and you can be that way too. And the first step is to hit the website for Toastmasters and find a local club, and they'll give you someone to contact, and you'll have a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Medicare loses $60 million in Montana each year, $70 billion nationally. Medicare processes 4.5 million claims a day. They don't know who your doctor is, but you do. Mistakes can happen.
Read your Medicare statements and call Montana Senior Medicare Patrol if you see anything unexpected.
1-800-551-3191. This project is supported by a grant by the Administration for Community Living.
You've probably seen some big-name celebrities on your TV lately talking about all the Medicare benefits you're missing out on. But the insurance companies who are paying for these ads may be pushing benefits not available in Montana. Fortunately, help is available from a friendly state health insurance assistance program counselor who can help you sort it all out. It's free, and we screen everyone for eligibility regardless of your zip code. It's Montanans helping Montanans. Call today.
I was angry and upset when the doctor told me I have diabetes. I just didn't want to deal with it, the needles and the diet restrictions. But after I started to learn about it, those feelings changed. I was at risk for a heart attack caused by high blood sugar. That got my attention. I started watching my diet and making sure I got enough exercise every day. I want to be around for my grandkids, and now that I know what to do, it seems like a small price to pay.
Ask your doctor about diabetes education or visit montana211.org.
Hi folks, and welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host Brian Lamore, and continuing our discussion about Toastmasters. Rejoining us is Wayne O'Brien and Dan Burdick. And Wayne, when an individual is in Toastmasters, it opens up opportunities sometimes they never expect, right? What are some of those?
Well, certainly, Brian, it's opened up a ton for me, because I think people generally are afraid to speak in public. It's a great fear. And once people know that you're comfortable or you're involved in a club or you've done it, found that the outside community begins to invite you to be in clubs or to be a speaker at a luncheon or to do any number of things, which extends way beyond the joy you get out of a Toastmasters group, because then you find yourself involved with other groups and other people, and another opportunity to meet people in the community that otherwise you would not meet, all because they think you can speak in public better than they can.
And you decide your fear a little bit
Yes,
better.
right, yeah, right.
Well, I know that's with me. I've been invited to be master of ceremonies and moderators on panels and do other shows, and it's been fun. And first I think, yeah, I can do it. I'm a Toastmaster. Just do it.
Exactly.
Dan, have you had experiences like that?
Oh, yeah, I have. And I've been asked to officiate in funerals more than once.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do it because I'm not worried about the speaking part. And the other thing about Toastmasters is we've had people in our club that came to prepare for their TED Talk. And they got going there. And I really enjoy the fact that sometimes you invite folks and they come and they stay, and it's really nice to see them grow and become comfortable speaking in public or just in a group.
Yeah.
They said the two things by survey that the Americans fear the most is speaking in public and going to a party where they don't know anybody.
Oh, really?
So if you can do topics, you can go to a party
and feel comfortable.
And we'll get you tuned up so you're comfortable standing up in front of people speaking.
Toastmasters is a party. I mean, there's a lot of laughter at a meeting, right?
That's
a lot
true.
of laughter.
Yeah, a lot of laughter at a meeting.
Well, you mentioned speaking at a funeral. I spoke at a friend's funeral, and those are sad times, but I had everybody laughing their off. It was like, good, everybody enjoyed that. But we're talking about individuals with their personal development. I've been amazed at, like I mentioned earlier, a couple gals who just really came out of their shells. And I've seen where major organizations in Montana, their leadership was going to be aging out. So they started up a leadership program with current employees, and they started their own Toastmasters group. Yeah. I mean, no matter what business you're in, you got to communicate, don't you?
You do, yeah. I don't think anybody can come to a Toastmasters group and not be affected positively, even at the first meeting. So we see people come who are working on a special project and they stay for a limited period of time, and we see people who come and become addicted. The other thing about it is that you get friends, like Dan and I are lifelong friends, and I could count 10 people right off that we are friends and do things outside a Toastmasters group. So it's a wonderful opportunity. If you're new in the community, you want to get to know people and do some things outside of a Toastmasters group, we're here for you.
Yeah, here. And I know in our group we have parents that attend. We have children that come with their father to listen to him give a speech, which is a good example, role model that you can do it. And it's all based on success, isn't it, Dan?
It is.
I mean, you don't really fail. You always succeed.
No. And you know, I was area director for a while, a couple of years ago, and our area goes clear into North Dakota and part of Minnesota, and that was a lot of Zoom meetings. I didn't have to travel. That was kind of nice. But there's a lot of corporate clubs in the Midwest, South Dakota, North Dakota, and it was interesting to see how those people climb the corporate ladder, as it were, based on the corporate Toastmaster Club. Right. And locally, American Kemet is in quite a few people there from American Kemet.
Yeah.
And I know those folks have used Toastmasters to better do their job.
I know we had a state Toastmasters group that I was a part of, and after a meeting one time, a guy turned to me and he said, you know, you had a lot of women that were working to be executives. He said, I'd hate to apply for a job against them.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you don't know the skills you need, even in an interview, and it comes up. You throw in a little humor, you're comfortable, and it changes people's lives. And Wayne, when you started, you never imagined, I imagine, going to an international speech contest to be that good? I mean, best in the nation?
No, but I grew up in Butte in a competitive environment, so when I found out there was an opportunity to actually compete, I took it on, and it became the most wonderful and frightening thing I've ever done in my life. Because you're constantly growing, and if you do things that make you feel uncomfortable, that's where personal growth takes place, and professional growth.
Well, for me, I decided, what am I afraid of? Let's do that and do it until it's fun. And I do that with everything. And Toastmasters was definitely it. I think I had to, I was supposed to give a best man speech. The best man didn't want to do it, so a friend told me, and I said, give me 15 minutes. He said, come up here now, Brian. And it's like, party on, Wayne. You know, like,
that's called extemporaneous.
Extemporaneous, and I did no skills at that then, but I'll tackle anything. So Dan, let's kind of finalize. We're drawn to a close on the show. What is Toastmasters, and why is it so good for individuals?
Well, it gives you the ability to communicate with your fellow human being, and if you can do that in a positive manner, what else do we need? What else do we need?
Well, I like to say you could do one-to-one, one-to-many, or to the many on the camera. And how about you, Wayne?
Well, that's why we call it Magic Monday, is that it opens up the opportunity for you to see a way that your communication skills can be utilized in ways that you otherwise didn't see it, with your children, with your wife, with your friends, with your golfing buddies, and suddenly you become more attractive at that point if you have the ability to throw a little humor and a little fun in the way that you live life, and it simply makes life better.
A lot better, right? And at a minimum, you're going to leave the meeting because we tell jokes, so you got a joke to tell your friends.
That's right, exactly. We're smiling.
Well, both of you, thank you for coming here. Pretty much impromptu and having this wonderful conversation. You're great examples of Toastmasters. That's why I wanted you here.
Great, thanks. Thanks for having us, Brian.
And for our viewers, you know, Toastmasters, you can tell here right now, it opens up opportunities in your life. It'll change you. That's what I tell people. Whenever I do a presentation, I plug Toastmasters like I have here. Hope to see you here again in a week. Thanks for joining us.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.